Guardians, welcome to another episode of Destiny 2 Builds. Today, we're diving into the fiery depths of Solar Warlock with the Scorching Onslaught build, unveiling a build that will ignite the battlefield with relentless power, wield your fiery blade, and wipe out waves of enemies. But this build isn't just about firepower, it's about survivability, improved ability regeneration, and the unwavering ability to heal both yourself and allies. With our increased Scorch effect and the massive damage increase to our Dawn Blade, we melt through any enemies that Onslaught will throw at us. Prepare to bask in the flames of victory, rally your fire team, and join us as we ignite the battlefield with explosive power. Remember to leave a like if you find this video helpful, and if you like seeing build videos and other Destiny 2 helpful content, consider hitting that subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump right on into it. Clearing 50 waves of Legend Onslaught is no joke. With the sheer amount of enemies paired with the bosses like Tormentors and Demolitionists, you as a Guardian need to find a way to wipe out mass amounts of targets quickly. With this Scorching Blade build, you can do just that. We take the exotic Dawn Chorus for two main reasons. First, Scorch from all sources deals 200% increased damage, and it gives us more melee energy. And second, Daybreak projectiles deal 90% more damage, and they scorch targets. So with this build, we aim to create as much Scorch as possible, to deal more damage and get back more melee energy. We then aim to get our super back as quick as possible, so that we continuously use our Daybreak. So let's dive into the build and break down how it works. First up for our super, we are taking Daybreak over Well of Radiance, and Daybreak normally isn't that good, but with Dawn Chorus increasing its damage by 90%, we can shred through most bosses and clear out a ton of ads. Since it now also scorches targets, we'll spec into that with our Fragments. So for our abilities, first up we're taking Healing Rift. I find that with Healing Rift we can provide more total healing, and constant healing for us and our team. If you like Phoenix Dive better, then go for it. For our melee, I'm choosing Incinerator Snap. And the main reason for Incinerator Snap is to cause ignitions. You can apply more overall Scorch to many targets, or you can snap on one target and cause an ignition. Celestial Fire is a safer option, but you will do a lot less damage. So I'm taking Incinerator Snap instead. And we will be taking the Healing Grenade. Since we aren't providing a well for our teammates, we need to be throwing healing grenades and proccing rifts on them to help keep them alive, and proc some of our fragments. So for our aspects, the first aspect that I'm taking is Touch of Flame. And since we are running that healing grenade, Touch of Flame now makes it so that it grants us restoration ×2. And this will be massive when paired with our later fragments, but will give us overall more healing. And with the second aspect, for this video, I ran with Icarus Dash. You could swap this out for Heat Rises, which in turn gives you more melee energy. Though since we are getting extra melee energy from Dawn Chorus, I opted for Icarus Dash to help traverse the map better and be able to wipe out enemies quicker. And the first fragment I'm taking is going to be Ember of Benevolence. With Onslaught, you have teammates all around you. And with Ember of Benevolence, whenever you proc Restoration, Cure, or Radiant for your teammates, you get an added 400% ability regeneration to all of your abilities. And with Warlock, this is massive. We now can proc this increased regeneration by using our Healing Grenade on teammates, popping a Healing Rift on teammates, or using our melee near teammates. So be sure to stick near them. And we can proc this from our melee because of our next fragment, Ember of Torches. So that now powered melees will now give you and your allies Radiant. Not only will we get an extra 25% weapon damage, but we get that increased ability regeneration rate as well. And since we get Radiant from our melee and restoration ×2 from our grenade, we can bring Ember of Empyrean to extend that restoration and Radiant by getting solar kills. And this is perfect since we bring solar weapons. Nearly every way we have to get a kill, it will now extend your healing and weapon damage. And to top it all off, we bring Ember of Ashes, so that the Scorch that we apply is increased by 50%. Remember, Scorch is dealing an extra 200% more damage, and it's giving us 5% of our melee for every tick. So applying more Scorch stacks leads to overall more damage, more ignitions, and more melee energy. So let's talk about ways to improve the build. For our stats, I usually like to go for 100 resilience. The added 30% damage resistance is key in any hard content, and that definitely applies to Legend Onslaught. After that, I like to shoot for 80 to 90 in both recovery and discipline. That way we can keep a short cooldown for both our grenade and our rift. That way we can heal our team as much as possible. After that, I split any leftover stats into intellect and strength. Melee's proc Ember of Benevolence, and your super is very strong. So we want both of these to have a fairly short cooldown. And when it comes to mods, for our helmet mods, I like to take Harmonic Siphon, so that rapid elemental weapon kills are gonna create orbs. And orbs help us out a ton. Not only are they giving us more super energy, but they're also giving us more scrap. And at the same time, feeding our team their supers so that we continuously spam all of our supers. After that, I like to go for Heavy Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Scout. Heavy is fantastic for Onslaught, so now you and your fire team will have even more to work with. For the Gauntlet mods, the first one I like to go with is Focusing Strike. We will be using our melee a ton, so this is a good option to generate more Rift energy, and in turn proc Ember of Benevolence more often. And the same goes for our next mod, Impact Induction, where powered melee damage gives 12% energy towards our grenade. And then I also like to take Harmonic Loader, and this is going to increase the reload speed of all of our solar weapons. We will be taking 2 solar weapons, so this helps with your overall DPS. When it comes to your chest mods, I usually like to take 3 resistance mods, one of those being Concussive Dampener. There is a ton of AoE damage that happens in Onslaught, so I do like to have that 15% against that. I usually then like to pair that with a Harmonic to cover solar, and you can either go Arc or Void, it depends on what you're fighting. But make sure you're running 3 of those resistance mods. When it comes to the leg mods, I like to take 2 solar weapon surge mods, so that we can increase our solar weapon damage by an added 17%, which does stack with that 25% from Radiant. And then I also like to pair that with a Harmonic Scavenger. Our heavy is a key to wiping out a ton of enemies and bosses, and we want as much as possible. So heavy ammo scouts that we have on our helmet plus the scavenger means that you're going to have a ton of heavy ammo to work with. And for the mark, I like to take Bomber so that we get 12% grenade energy when we use our class ability. This really helps in case you don't get a kill right after proccing your grenade. So that way you can try to get your healing grenade back as quick as possible, so you can continue that restoration cycle over and over again. And then after that, I like to take Reaper, so that after using our class ability, our next weapon kill will generate an orb. And as we mentioned, we want to generate as many orbs as possible because they help us in so many ways. And the final mod we're taking is going to be Font of Restoration. And this means that when we have Armor Charge, we get plus 30 to our recovery. Because of that, you only need about 60 to 70 in recovery. And that way you can hit a low cooldown on your Rift. We will be generating a ton of orbs, so we should have near infinite uptime with this mod. When it comes to the artifact, this season is perfect for solar builds. I like to take all of our solar perks, being Kindling Trigger, Flint Striker, Torch, Heart of the Flame, and Raise of Precision, to deal more damage with solar weapons and super, as well as create more ignitions. You can also take any other artifact mods that might apply to your situation. If you run a different weapon than I am, some might apply, so pick whichever ones are perfect for your situation. And when it comes to weapons, for the kinetic slot, I like to take a crowd control weapon. Since Onslaught throws so many enemies at you, bringing a disorienting grenade launcher in your primary slot is ideal. I like to bring Lingering Dread, and it's from the Dungeon Duality. It has a role with auto-loading holster, chill clip, and disorienting grenades. Chill clip will allow you to take care of overload champs. And while you're Radiant, you can also deal with barrier champs. If you don't have this, then any disorienting grenade launcher in the primary slot will do. Otherwise, I might run a sniper for a little bit of extra range as an option, because our main weapon is going to come from our energy slot. And that's going to be a solar weapon with incandescent, since we want to proc as much Scorch as possible to deal more damage and get that uptime with our melee. I recently tried out the Apocal integration, which is a hand cannon, and man does it hit hard. The added damage from tracer rockets, plus being able to stun unstoppable champs, left me feeling very happy. I also feel like sidearms are underrated, so you could take the heliocentric sidearm for a more close-up option that can roll with heal clip and incandescent to proc both Ember of Benevolence and Dawn Chorus more often. Otherwise, there are a ton of weapons out there with incandescent, so pick your favorite option. And when it comes to the heavy, Gallarhorn is my favorite option. With its Wolfpack rounds, you can not only buff your teammates' rockets, but you can also wipe out a ton of adds with one blow. Since it is a balance of ad clear and damage, it's perfect for Onslaught. You could also run Dragon's Breath, since it will cause more Scorch damage, which pairs perfectly with this build. Normally, I would say Dragon's Breath is the better option, but since this is specifically for Onslaught, I'd go for Galley first. Otherwise, you can run something like Sleeper Stimulant or Xenophage. Both are a bit more niche, but they can excel in certain situations. And there you have it, Guardians. We've covered a build that excels at wiping out mass amounts of targets, melting through bosses, and even keeping you and your team alive. But remember, mastering these builds is only the beginning. Experiment with different combinations, tweak your loadout to suit your playstyle, and never stop honing your skills. If you found this video helpful or just enjoyed seeing a new perspective, feel free to like the video and comment down below what you might change or how you'd improve the Scorching Onslaught build. Keep an eye out for future videos as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of Destiny 2. Until then, may the threads of fate be ever in your favor. This is Lucky Mech, signing off. See you on the next adventure, Guardians.